again, I'm gonna try not to move too much while I'm holding the phone. Finally actually got some time and made some time to work on the Subaru. One big one that I've done with the Subi is just chuck the front, one of the front wheels that I've got on it at the minute on the back, because there was a lot of math done about which diff to use, because I didn't obviously want to shorten or lengthen the diff tube because sieves. But yeah, so basically I've got one of those fronts on now, which are 8" plus 32. So I'm gonna just make a new video, swap the camera around. Pretty stoked because I never actually really checked this. So yes, there was a fair wacko of math done about which the diff track would be, sort of what offset wheels I was planning to run on the car. This is actually really cool because it's good to see that it was worth it. I was going to go 31 diff in the car at one point, narrower track, but yeah, this was calculated, so it's cool. It's actually cool to see something coming together. It's mad. I want to get some of the floor, as in the floor metal, out of the car, so I'm just going to pretty much go through and start pulling all this sort of stuff out, as well as looking at everything for clearance for the diff. Start pulling some stuff out and see what we're working with. I stopped filming because it was extremely awkward getting those seats out, and then if I tried to film it, I had to block the camera anyway. So seats are out, which is cool. I think for now I'm going to just look at pretty much a spare wheel weld, getting that out. I don't know if I'm going to go as far as trying to find the spot welds and drilling them out to pull the panel out, because I don't think it'll be that simple, especially being glued in. I'll also cut my finger like a Edward Scissorhands. Time to chop. So what I'm doing here is just drilling some small pilot holes through the car, so that's going to give me some visibility from the top of where I want to cut out. There is markings on the floor pan that sort of line up with rails, which I've sort of just gone for a conservative approach. So rather than just trying to take out a heap of material, just work through slowly and do a small bit by small bit. If I need to take more out afterwards, I'm quite okay with that, because I'd rather just not go completely crazy. So all I'm doing now is just running along with a grinder where I have drilled those holes through from the bottom, and what that does is give me a nice slot to fit the reset saw in to cut the floor out. Just a lot easier, a lot neater than using a grinder to do so. So this is cool. Extra light. No, it sort of worked. It was a bit rough. It was going pretty rough with the old reset. Yeah, there's this little bracket here, which I think I don't know, it's doing something. Not doing much anymore. Hit that, bent the blade. I think I actually hit the tow bar at the back here, which is what bent the blade the first time. Fair bit of room to see what's going on. I think it's a lot easier to sort of get a bit of a gauge of what's happening. Car's getting a Watts link, so that's going to need boxes made up, which it would have anyway. The ride height thing is a bit of a drama, just because I have the car sitting at ride height, which was a little bit lower than how I had the front. But I do sort of want the car to be sacked, because especially now I can do it without worrying too much about if the geometry is going to get messed up. because obviously we can start from scratch. So yeah, the biggest thing with that, which there's obviously solutions to everything, is the rail clearance here, or I'd start looking at notching out those rails, which is fine. But anyway, enough blabbering. I think I'm pretty much just trying to do a little bit every day, rather than trying to be like, cool, I'm going to cut the floor out, then I'm going to cut the other part of the floor out, then I'm going to notch rails. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time. At least it sort of gets the momentum happening. Yeah, going to have a bit of a reflection and figure out what the next plan of attack will be. So at this point I'd done like a fair whack of research in the background on pinion angle, drive angle, where the car's center point, I can't even remember the name for it now, but there's a lot sort of involved in the background if you want to do this really, really properly, like roll center and stuff like that. And I've sort of just beat my head against the wall with it, so I've just gone for 0 degrees of pinion angle at ride height as my standard height, and that's what I'm working with. And then the gearbox sits like 7.5 degrees or something on a downslope, which is a little bit excessive. I've taken it off the mount and I've been able to measure that I'll get like 4.5 degrees with it maxed. So pretty much I'm just going to work with what I've got, see how I go. Uni angles are the big drama with that, and putting excessive wear on the unis, but given the application and everything, I don't think it's going to end up being too much of a drama, but time will tell. So here, basically all I've done is marked the total circumference of the diff tube on a flat piece of paper. So I've then got a width, and then from that I've marked each quarter, and what that allows me to do is transfer it onto the diff tube by wrapping the paper around itself and lining up the edges. That then gives me, it ensures that it's straight, so then I can cross-reference the marks that I've put and then actually transfer them onto the diff tube. I think I got shown that with tube and just welding tube and making sure that you know, you're cutting it straight, etc. without the, I guess, best tools. Remove the rail completely here. There's modification to it to clear the diff pump and just seemed completely unnecessary, as there'll be an extra rail for the diff Watts link, as well as some extra support up the front for the link boxes. I'm pretty confident about the strength that will be gained with those to make up for this. I've used a template here using a compass, which I haven't used for a very long time, to be able to trace the circumference of the diff tube onto the metal brackets ready to modify them. More than likely I'm going to end up getting these brackets remade once I've got a final location of everything and making sure that everything's in its right spot. But part of the reason that I bought this kit initially was just due to the value in regards to what actually came with the kit versus getting it all made or making it all myself. The diff breather location ended up being a bit of a problem because exactly where I wanted one of the upper link boxes was right where the hole was. So it was a bit of a funny thread, so I've had to cut up the existing breather and then use that to plug the hole. And then I've had to put a note on the diff tube because I can see myself forgetting to put one in, which would be very bad, just to remake the diff breather at a later stage. I think I'm going to wrap this one up here. I'm pretty stoked to have some mounts welded to the diff. I've got no doubt that they're going to be wrong somehow and going to have to cut them off and start again, but regardless, it's pretty cool. So yeah, both sides, top links. On the diff, there's a lot of floor clearance that needs to be made for how I'm going to run them to the car. But yeah, pretty exciting. I've got both sides sitting within half a mil off the edge. I'm tired. I'm very tired. But yeah, it's cool. I just chucked the bars on just for a quick reference to see where it's lining up, to see what's going to sort of have to come out of the floor. Yeah, they're not running exactly true. I'm not sure if it's slightly cocked in the brackets there or what, but whatever, don't care. I'm gonna get it. That's why I've only lightly tacked it in. I'm gonna sort of get it close-ish and sort of see where we're running. Yeah, but it's cool. So try to do it a bit different with the whole voicing over as opposed to just long talking like I am currently doing. So hopefully it's a little bit more enjoyable, a bit more stuff, a lot more videos, a lot more storage space, because everything's going to be sped up while I'm talking smack over the top. But yeah, anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Pretty keen on smashing this one out. So yeah, catch you next time.